Hey KW community, welcome to the Kitchen Warehouse Farm. We are so excited today. The whole family is down here and we're also welcoming from El Asador restaurant to cook us some Argentinian street food, which we are really looking forward to. Welcome Emily, she's going to start by making us some empanadas.
Hi, thanks for having me. So I'm going to use the KitchenAid to make the dough for the empanadas. This is actually the machine we use in our shop. So it's a really good machine. It's commercial quality, which is why I like to use it. I've started with 350 of plain flour. Then I'm taking 350 of self-raising flour. And I've just got to put some yeast into 400 mils of warm water, lukewarm water. Then I've got 5 grams of salt that I'm adding to the flour. I'll just give that a bit of a mix. Oops. Just keep going. And then we're going to add, it's around 70 grams of butter, room temperature butter. And we're using about 70 grams of lard, but you can use all butter or all lard. Traditionally you'd use lard, and you'd probably use the lard that we often use, the lard that we get off our meat after we've cooked it. Just going.
How many empanadas do you think you make a week?
I would make probably about 300 a week. So different sizes and different recipes. So I make them a lot. So I'm just going to let that go for a little while. I'm just going to get this and give this a bit of a stir. So this is just the yeast with 400 mils of water. Just start adding this.
So how many different flavours did you say that you made? Varieties?
We do 5 different flavours. We do beef, chicken and chorizo, mozzarella, tomato and basil, lamb and red wine, and then we do eggplant and roast capsicum. I think that's it.
And what's your favourite flavour?
Chicken and chorizo, because that's a lot of the recipes that we've used are from Max's family, whereas that recipe feels a bit more like it's from my family just because it uses sherry, and it's I just really like it. I like preparing that one because I wrote that recipe. So I've taken a lot from what I've learnt through Max, but that particular recipe was one that I developed from start to finish. So it was, I'm quite proud of it, and it's tasty as well. So I'll just let that work its way for a while.
So you guys can probably see in the background there's the Argentinian barbecue, which is what brought this all about. The idea of one of our best shoppers, Emily, coming in here and down to the farm, and it all just came together very quickly. They've very kindly come down here, and we are going to feast later on, which we're quite excited about.
So I'll just let that go for a while. So if you didn't have a KitchenAid, you can easily do this by hand in a bowl, and you just knead it.
Not when you're making 300 a week.
No, no.
So Max, do you want to come on over?
Yeah.
Let's meet Max. Where are you from originally?
Argentina. Yeah.
Argentina. But is your mum from?
My parents are Uruguayan. Yeah.
And
I was born in Argentina.
Ah, and you're going to give me the proper accent on how we pronounce your restaurant.
El Asador.
So it sounds so much better when you say it.
And it means the barbecuer in English, in Spanish.
Perfect. So you guys started doing your sauces and things originally?
Yeah, we started with our sauces back in 2010.
Yep.
We launched at the Chili Festival. Then from there on, we got into events in 2011, doing big food, street food events and everything else. And then I always wanted to have a kitchen, have a restaurant, have our own place we could cook in and do things.
And so you've opened in North Perth, is it?
It's in Perth, actually. Yeah,
Perth, Highgate.
North Perth, yeah.
Next door to Torres Butchers, which is where you get all your meat from as well. Another good family business. So how are we going? How long's that been mixing for?
So this has been mixing for about 20 minutes. So I'll just turn it off now and bring it out. It's good to go. It's still a little bit sticky, so we're going to knead it for a little while. What I'm going to do here, I'll just slightly dust this surface. So we're just going to work it. And you can feel it's still slightly sticky, so you don't want it to dry it out, but you just don't want it to be too sticky. And the more experience you have, you learn what the dough should be feeling like and what it's when it's easiest to work with. So I don't want to use up too much flour. I just want to kind of knead it into it slightly more so it doesn't have a stickiness about it. Just going to do this. You can also leave that to rise if you like for a while, but we don't need to do that today. You kind of just put it in dough. I'm just going to take this adapter off now.
So we're moving on to the pasta attachment?
Yep. So we actually use this one in our shop still, which is really good. But if you don't have one of these, you can use a
rolling pin
or a bench pasta roller.
Yes.
Yep. So there's lots of options. You don't have to have this one. That one's good to go. So I'm just going to break these into smaller amounts. Okay, so this is where we're going to start making our discs. So to make the discs, we need, they're about 11 centimetre disc cutters. I get a plate because I stack the discs and I cut up greaseproof paper so the discs can be layered and stacked. We're just going to start the machine up, and we just start with at level 1. I just roll it through. And this is a good way to just keep on working the dough as well, and you can feel how sticky it is. So at the moment it's just a little bit too sticky still. So I'll just dust it with a little bit more flour and not too much. And if you haven't used one of these attachments before, the easiest way to use them is just start small and slow. So don't put the power on too much, and you just use a small amount of dough and just run it through. All right, so that's looking pretty good. I usually like it, in fact I might just put some more flour on it. I try and get all the dimples out so it looks really smooth. It's really relaxing to use as well. So I've got that rolled at 1 and I'm now going to move it to 2.
So Emily, have you been to Argentina?
I've been a couple of times.
Yeah.
So we went probably about 7 years now. Before we had kids. So Max went with me probably when we first met about 10 years ago. And then we went back around 7 years ago. So he went back with me the first time he'd been back since they left as a family when he was younger. So yeah, it's really nice. That would have been where I really learnt how much I loved empanadas because I ate a lot of them. So now what I've done is I've run it through on level 2 or number 2, and then you get your dough cutter and you just cut your discs. And what I do with these now, because you've always got to kind of keep your area fairly organised when you make empanadas, is I'll stack them up.
Do you want a hand?
Yep. And I
The
just put
wind's
them
playing
through like
havoc.
this. Yes. So we just do that. I think that's all I've got out of that one. In fact, I might be able to cut another one. So we put one through here and we just stack them up.
I can be your sous chef.
Awesome. And then I'll just use the rest of the dough and make more discs.
You know what? So does that all join back together again?
It does. So I can use like down to the last little bit. Did you? So I just keep on running it through. And then I'll just make another disc. I don't know if I've got more paper there. Yep.
There we go.
So generally, I might just brush this.
So how thick
flour
are
off.
they're pretty
They're-
thin. Should we have a look? I'll show.
I'm just going to get that off.
There we go.
So I think it's at, I don't know what the thickness is on, but I start at number 1 and then I move to number 2. So these have been in the fridge for about 10 minutes. They're easier to work with. These discs are easier to work with if they're just a little bit cold, because it just gives them a bit more body. So what I usually do is lay a few of them out here. And I'm going to do some different folds, because in Argentina that's how you would tell the difference between which empanada. I'm going to start with the mozzarella and tomato and basil. And so what I do is I put about a tablespoon of mixture in the middle of the empanada, and it's really important to not overfill them because they just will explode. Then the next thing I do is just put a little bit of water, not too much water, and you fold over like that, and you just press, and I stretch as well. It just gives me a little bit more to work with. I've started with this one here because it's quite an easy fold. So I'll just put a little bit of water here, go like that, and press here. And I'm just going to do a pinch there, and a pinch there. So you can just start like that. So that's a mozzarella, tomato and basil, and that's just an easy fold to start with. The next one I'm going to do is a beef mix, and again, not too much of the filling, because it'll just be too messy to work with. You've got to kind of keep everything quite clean and tidy when you're making empanadas, otherwise the filling goes everywhere in flour and water and it just doesn't work well. So I just fold it over and just pinch like this. This is one of my favourite folds. It's the most traditional, and it's the one my mother-in-law taught me, so I really like this one. It's a very traditional empanada fold for the beef, and you just twist and twist and twist, and you keep twisting until you go all the way around. And this one, if you want to learn more about folding empanadas, it's better to start with really simpler folds, because this one can be really confusing. So you kind of just have to keep on turning and pressing until you get to the end. And that one there, it's like that. And then this one here, I'm just going to show if you wanted to do even a simpler fold. So again, not too much filling. This one here is our eggplant roast capsicum. So if you were thinking those ones just look too difficult and you're first starting out, a really simple fold, you just go like this. I just like to give it a nice little stretch. And you go just with a fork. And that's something that you could just do at home really easily.
So empanadas, they're traditionally Argentinian, or do other countries in South America have them?
They do. So they're popular all around South America and Latin America, and they will use different flours. So for example, the Colombian empanada is a gluten-free, I think gluten-free corn flour, and they will look different to the Argentinian ones. The Chilean ones are all different. So you can find all different types. And if you're traveling in Argentina, they're a really good thing, street food to eat, because they'll often be made fresh on the day and be sold that day. So you kind of, it's a safe bet that it's going to be fresh and tasty. And they have all different flavors in them. all different fillings, all different folds. Some companies might, they won't use different folds. They'll all be folded the same, but they'll have a different print on them, or they'll say what the filling is, like a little stamp. But I like the idea of the folds just because they're so cute. And even now when I make a lot of them, I still enjoy doing this. It's really relaxing.
It's quite therapeutic, isn't it?
It is. And you kind of just learn to work with pastry. So it's really relaxing. And I started not knowing anything about making empanadas, and now I do it for a living.
So who taught? Was it your mother-in-law who taught you? Or?
Yeah, so she was the first person that taught me how to make the beef mix. The beef one is more traditionally what Max's family would have. I mean, they wouldn't necessarily have a vegetarian option. So she showed me how to make the beef mix and how to fold the beef mix, because it's a really traditional fold. And so I do really like that one. But you can do all different types of fold, and it can be more complicated or really simple options like the fork on the edge.
So I've heard all you need in Argentina is a empanada and a glass of Malbec.
I think that's right. That is definitely true. You can actually buy empanadas and get them delivered to your houses like pizza in boxes, so it's really nice.
And what sauce would you have with it traditionally?
Well, I know with Max's family, traditionally they won't have a sauce with it, but some people can put chimichurri with it. But when you make the mixtures, the fillings, you want them to you don't want them to be dry. You want them to have a bit of sauce in the filling itself, but you can put a nice chimichurri with it. That always goes nicely with the empanada.
So should we get the deep fryer out now? And we'll
deep fry some. We'll put one of each in. It's nice clean oil.
Look at that. So how long do you leave them in here for?
Depends on the fryer, but it's until they're golden brown. So you don't want to overcook them. They kind of float to the surface a bit, but you want them to be nice goldeny brown.
So they're the eggplant?
We've got one of each.
Oh, good.
Yep. Just going to flip them over a bit.
Are they quite fragile in there, or are they okay?
They're pretty robust, but they can explode, especially the cheese ones. So that's why you want to seal them really proper, like really tightly. But no, they're pretty good.
Hopefully mine survives.
I'm sure it will. It'll be fine.
And can you oven bake them as well, or?
You can. So you can put them in the oven for about probably 10 or 15 minutes until they're golden brown. You could also just brush them with some egg yolk as well. We always generally deep fry, but yeah, oven baking is almost as nice.
Be nice and crispy.
Yeah. Might just turn them a little bit more. See, this one's nearly done. So we like to cook them until they're goldeny brown, but not too overcooked. So this side's looking quite nice.
Yeah, they look fantastic.
It's a nice little deep fryer. Okay, I think these ones are good to go. So just shake the oil off. I'm just going to put these ones.
Look at that.
Wow. But maybe a lot of them. Yeah.
So we'll just put these ones here.
Nice. Even Max says they look really good.
I'm his biggest critic of the barbecue though. So
Are you? Oh,
yes.
There you go.
Yeah.
So how amazing do those look? We can't wait to eat them. And thank you, Emily. And we're going to keep enjoying the night. But for the moment, we've got some empanadas to eat with some chimichurri. What are the two different flavours here?
So this is a parsley and garlic chimichurri that we make and sell in store, and then this is our chili churri. So it's a chimichurri with a bit of heat to it.
Excellent. We'll see you guys soon.
Might just cook these ones up then.
Yeah.
Awesome.